Okay. Hello, hello. We are live, Dr. Bruce and I. So, what we would love to do is for you to share your name and where you're from as you're watching this live. Yes. So, I'm Dr. Toni Reilly. I'm Australia's past life reincarnation and afterlife specialist, and Dr. Bruce is America's hypnotherapist to the stars with more than 50 years experience. So we're here to help you uncover the mysteries of life through diving deep into our confidential files to discover the what, whys and hows of past lives, reincarnation and life after death. So we encourage you to get involved in the conversation with us. You can post your questions at any time in the comments and let us know your name. We can't always see the name, particularly if you're commenting from Facebook. YouTube's different. We can see your name or your username. Yeah, so since I've asked you to tell us where you're coming from,
yeah, Washington State. Seeing one or two of my clients from across the country. Tucson. Hello, Tucson.
Hello, Tucson. And Julie, you've come in from London. Good for you, because it is the middle of the night there.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for joining us. And gosh, we've got Diane from Vermont. Mel, goody Mel, put your questions in. We're going to present our take on the topic, which is, do we reincarnate to learn or for an experience? And we will absolutely be answering your questions after that. So please post away. Carol's in California. Julianne is from the UK as well. Julianne, gosh, amazing. Good for you jumping on in the middle of the night. We've got some insomniacs perhaps, but amazing. Thanks for joining us. And gosh, amazing. Let's keep going. So actually, Dr. Bruce, where are you coming to us from?
From Surf City, USA, also known as Huntington Beach, California.
Yeah, isn't that exciting? So it's all Beach Boys territory, surfing USA. And this week I'm in the capital of Australia, which is called Canberra. And I don't know if any of you will have heard of this, but I was walking randomly around Canberra. I'm not very familiar with this place. And there was a TARDIS, a real life-size TARDIS in the main street. Beautiful blue one. And I got so excited because I thought, oh, there's the Doctor Who time machine. And I couldn't help myself but video it. But anyway, so it's also featured in the header of my Facebook group. So I was pretty excited to see it. So let's get on with today's live, or get on with our topic. So to set the tone for Dr. Bruce and my collective findings, or all of the things that we've come across in our experience working with thousands of people, Dr. Bruce is going to read us a post that he shared this week that received a real lot of attention. So after that, we can discuss our findings. And just before we get started with that, I can see we've got Sandy from Portland, Oregon. So do feel free to comment on where you're from, and we'll come back to you later, and also comment any questions that might arise as Dr. Bruce is reading. So, Dr. Bruce, in your absolutely gorgeous radio voice, take it away.
Well, thank you. Yes, I put this on my group earlier in the week, and all of a sudden it showed up all over Facebook and all of the other allied groups out there. And I had posted this a couple of years ago, and every once in a while I'll put this up there. But it seems to be getting a lot of attention this time around. When Albert Einstein used to lecture at various universities, and the top question that students asked him was, do you believe in God? And Einstein always answered in this way. He said, I believe in the God of Spinoza. Now, the ones who hadn't read Spinoza didn't understand, but the ones who had, they knew exactly what Einstein meant. You see, Baruch de Spinoza was a Dutch philosopher and he was considered one of the three great rationalists of the 17th century philosophy, along with René Descartes in France and Gottfried Leibniz in Germany. Now, philosophers are known for thinking, ruminating, cogitating, reflecting. In other words, philosophizing. That's what they do. That's their job. Well, one day, Spinoza sat down and wrote what he thought God would have said about certain things if he had been given the opportunity. And this was written over 400 years ago, mind you, and it was written in Latin. So, owing in differences in translation, there are several versions of this floating around. And since I don't remember much of my Latin, I was an altar boy 100 years ago, and the only thing I remember is Dominus vobiscum mecum spiritu tuo, but that's not going to serve us today. So we're going to do this in English. And remember, this is supposed to be God speaking. I hope you enjoy it, and as much as I did. I hope it makes you think as much as it made me think. And apparently, it's making a lot of other people think out there this week. So it's entitled, What God Would Have Said. Stop praying and punching yourself in the chest. What I want you to do is go out into the world and enjoy your life. I want you to enjoy, sing, have fun. Enjoy everything I've made for you. Stop going to those dark, cold temples that you built yourself and say that they're my house. My house is in the mountains, in the woods, rivers, lakes, beaches. That's where I live. And there, I express my love for you. Stop blaming me for your miserable life. I never told you there was anything wrong with you, or that you were a sinner, or that sexuality was a bad thing. Sex is a gift. It's a gift I've given you, and with which you can express your love, your ecstasy, your joy. So don't blame me for everything they made you believe. Stop reading alleged sacred scriptures that have nothing to do with me. If you can't read me in the sunrise, in a landscape, in the look of your friends and your son's eyes, you'll find me in no book. Trust me, and stop asking me, would you tell me how to do my job? Stop being so scared of me. I don't judge or criticize you or get angry or seek to punish you. I'm pure love. Stop asking for forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive. If I made you, I filled you with passions, limitations, pleasures, feelings, needs, inconsistencies, free will. How can I blame you? How can I blame you if you respond to something I put in you? How can I punish you for being the way you are if I'm the one who made you? Do you think I could create a place to burn all my children who behave badly for the rest of eternity? What kind of God would do that? Forget any kind of commandments. They're wiles to manipulate you, to control you. They only create guilt in you. Respect your peers, and don't do to them what you don't want done to yourself. All I ask is you pay attention in your life, that your conscience is your guide. My beloved, this life is not a test. It's not a step, not a rehearsal, nor a prelude to paradise. This life is the only thing that exists here and now. And it's all that you need. I've set you absolutely free. No prizes, no punishments, no sins or virtues. No one carries a marker. No one keeps a record. You are absolutely free to create in your life heaven or hell. I could tell you if there's anything about this life after this life, but I won't. But I can give you a tip. Live it as if there's nothing after. As if this is your only chance to enjoy, to love, to exist. So if there's nothing, then you will have enjoyed the opportunity I gave you. And if there is, rest assured that I won't ask you if you behaved right or wrong. I'll ask, did you like it? Did you have fun? What did you enjoy the most? What did you learn? Stop believing in me. Believing is assuming, guessing, imagining. I don't want you to believe in me. I want you to feel me in you when you kiss your beloved, when you tuck in your little girl, when you caress your dog, when you bathe in the sea. Stop praising me. What kind of egomaniac God do you think I am? I'm bored being praised. I'm tired of being thanked. Feeling grateful? Prove it by taking care of yourself, your health, your relationships, the world. Express your joy. That's the way to praise me. Stop complicating things and repeating as a parakeet what you've been taught about me. The only thing for sure is that you're here, that you're alive, and that this world is full of wonders. What do you need more miracles for? Why so many explanations? Look for me outside. You won't find me. Find me inside. There, I'm beating within you. Signed, God. Isn't that neat stuff?
That is really, it's really special because it encompasses what I feel like has been completely shared with me over all these years working in these realms, and that is we are here for a human experience and we must make the most of it because we just don't have these same faculties once we're not in a body. Thank you for reading that, Dr. Bruce. I adore your radio voice. And I saw Mel said,
Yes.
oh, you got a good voice. Radio voice. And gosh, while you were reading, we've had Lydia join us and Paula from Indiana. And yeah, we've got a few people on here. So welcome, everybody. Dr. Bruce read just the most beautiful piece there about a perception of God through the eyes of Albert Einstein or somebody that he followed.
The philosopher Spinoza. And if you missed it, you can see it on your group, Toni, or you can see it in my group. And in your group. Matter of fact, I think after we're done here tonight, I'll kind of move it up to the top of the group.
Yeah, pin it to the top. And there's lots of comments coming in about how much it resonated. So fantastic. Yeah, spot on. I agree. So this is wonderful. And we've got Mary from Naples. Yay. Gosh, so on and forward we go. If you have any questions or comments about that, please put them in the comments and we'll get to, we're going to have a little talk about the topic, which is do we reincarnate to learn or for an experience next, and then we'll take questions. So, and hello, Gillian from Phillip Island in Australia. Let's get on with this. So
Richard is here for the chocolate. I don't know where Richard's from, but he's here for the chocolate.
There you go. And
I thought this was an Amway meeting.
There you go. Oh, hello, Di, my lovely friend. We've got, okay, we'll just go on for a little bit and then we'll definitely come back to your questions. So I want to just talk a little bit about my experience of this topic and the assimilations that I came to around do we reincarnate to learn or for an experience. So in my experience working with past life regression, there used to be this train of thought that we were here to learn lessons and to overcome them. And if we didn't learn them, then we'd be back again. And we would have to endure a similar fate until we got it right. And that bothered me, that it was as though you were going to be punished if you didn't get it right. To me, like, we have enough fear within the human experience. So the way I see it is that it doesn't work like that, or not quite like that. So here are a few points from my findings, and Dr. Bruce might like to comment once we have discovered some different things or have a few words to say. But the first thing is we are born to have a human experience. Of course, through that experience, we will learn things and it will feel like we're learning them for the first time. But as far as why are we reincarnating, it's to have a human experience. So what we are doing here, each incarnation is predestined. We cannot fail our mission. We cannot. So there's no that you didn't learn the lesson you set out to learn. You cannot fail the mission. It's outlined and we're living it every minute of every day. We do learn within each incarnation and we will reincarnate over and over again, but not for punishment or not for payback for what we didn't learn last time. That's not what it's about. We do, however, reincarnate or incarnate to experience every aspect of being a human being. This means we might be wealthy, poor, tribal, in different cultures, come in different genders, and we will be a victim. And there'll be times when we are also a perpetrator. So we reincarnate over and over lots of times, so many times. It's not just once or twice. And that happens so that we experience every aspect of being a person, being a human. So a physical body facilitates things that can only be experienced as a human. Mind, body, and spirit, those are all human, actual human parts. So if I tell you a little bit about that in points, being a human means we have thoughts because, of course, we have a brain, and we have willpower because we have our brain and our thoughts. We have characteristics and we have a personality. They are unique to each incarnation that we live. So the person that we are now and how we are, we have a body type, we have a body shape, we have a certain health, we have certain attributes to our body, each life, and we have our senses. And these are critical to the human experience. We feel, we physically feel, and we also emotionally feel. We have touch, taste, sound. All of these things are the human experience. The body facilitates them. And the overriding umbrella that I believe it's all about is to feel emotions. Because every single thing that we do, don't do, that happens around us invokes an emotion in us. So the soul isn't growing or learning. It's pure energy that we return to when we leave the body. While we're in the body, we're a spirit. So for me at the moment, I'm the spirit of Toni, and Dr. Bruce is the spirit of Dr. Bruce, and Mel is the spirit of Mel. So that's who we are, but when we pass over from this lifetime, we'll return to our soul energy. So those are my thoughts, or those are sharing what I've come to discover from 20 years working in these realms. And Dr. Bruce, do you have anything to add?
I feel that we come here primarily to experience, but in experiencing, how can we help but learn? You can't experience something and then not learn, but it's not necessarily learn in the way of the lesson type of having to learn a lesson. I'm not getting that. I'm not sensing that. That is a classical view, by the way, of reincarnation, that we a lesson. One of the questions inherent and always inherent in this is that if I choose, and I choose to experience this, this is a choice I make in between lives, in the in-between state. And so what always comes is, why would I choose a lifetime of poverty, of infirmity, if that's what I do? And years ago, I was teaching my certification class for past life regression and therapy. And when I had an office downtown here in Huntington Beach, and one of my students also became a friend. He was a Mexican ambassador, very smart man. He was had a doctorate of jurisprudence from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And he was an ambassador. Mexico would send him to all these different countries, and he was an ambassador at large. And he said, Bruce, why would I want to come back if I knew I was going? But I wouldn't choose to come back. with handicaps, mentally or physically, or to live in poverty. He said because he had homes all over the world. But I said, let's look at this. Let's take a rational look at this. How long when you yes you do choose to have those particular experiences, and you do it for a purpose to have those experiences. And I always tell people about the in 1965 Frank Sinatra had a hit song called That's Life. And there was a couple of lines in that song that really resonated with me when he said, I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn, and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, and I know one thing. And I think that, whether we knew it or not, the one thing that old Blue Eyes was trying to teach us was that, yes, we come to experience life in all of its diversity. And what I told my ambassador friend, I told him that the time you're going to spend here to experience that particular life of maybe of poverty, maybe of infirmity, is a twinkling of the eye in terms of eternity. You know, we think about three score and 10 years of 70 years here is going by so very slowly, but actually it goes back at the twinkling of an eye in eternity. When you think, well, the eons and thousands of lives that we will live, it's nothing. It's really nothing. And I think it is to have an experience. I was thinking about this today, and I said, I looked at it this way. Let's say I was last year on vacation. I went to Hawaii, so I'm sitting thinking, well, what am I going to do this year? So I we went to Hawaii, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. So I go to my travel agent, if anybody has travel agents anymore. I think they're still around there. So let's say my travel agent knows me. She knows my likes. And my travel agent says, well, you know, Bruce, I know that you have this kind of interest in, and you haven't done it, but you have this interest in maybe exploring castles in England or Scotland or Ireland, haunted by ghosts. So maybe you should go there. Who knows? Maybe you'll have the experience of meeting a ghost. And maybe going to these castles, you will learn something. So you see, in that sense, that guide, my travel agent, is actually my spirit guide. Because my spirit guide suggesting that, well, why don't you give this a try? You might really be interested in this, to have an experience. And in that experience, can I not fail to learn if I do something that I've not done before? And so this time I may choose to go to England, even though it might be cold and foggy and damp. Oh, I'm sorry, we have someone from England here. But even though I might be experiencing cold and damp and fog and whatnot over there, but I'll still be having an experience that I've never had before. So I kind of equate it in that way. And as I said, in experiencing, you cannot help but learn. And that's what I think it's all about. And that's what I think the decision that we make in planning with our soul group and our soul guide, our spirit guides, and what we call the Council of Elders in between lives, we make this decision to have these experiences. We talk about having experiences to make us a more rounded person. Well, maybe this is to make us a more rounded soul. Do you ever think of that?
Wow, that's a good point. And the way that I see it is that the soul already is all-knowing, and the human experience is certainly for the human experience. And as you just gave some examples of learning, as we do here when we go traveling, having different experiences, we indeed do that. But I think the soul's already all-knowing. So it's really quite a different expression of, are we learning or experiencing? Yeah, so what are your thoughts on this? We've got a question, and I'm just going to go back and have a look.
So some of us without a mission. I'm almost more confused because I don't know how to know.
Okay, I'm just going to put this question up. So in response, do any of us come here without a mission? Nobody comes here without a mission. It's planned, and it's outlined before we're born in I call it the reincarnation, the in-between life phase, where we plan this earthly existence or this incarnation. And you don't know how to know. There are ways to know. You can look at astrology or numerology. Each of those sciences or forms will outline a mission for you. And there are many other ways as well. Personally,
what you resonate with, what you're called to do.
Yeah, listening to yourself, your calling, and trusting that. That's the greatest leader of all time, to trust that you're on your mission, or that it's outlined. But in my work, I've developed the life map, which is based on numerology, but it literally outlines your mission. I think today's show's not specifically about the mission, but we will cover it in a future episode. But the mission is usually not what people think. I think people feel like their mission is a destiny, and that destiny is a certain thing that they need to achieve. But it's not that. Your mission is every single day of every minute that you're alive. So the whole thing is your mission. You're on it, and you're never off mission. You're never off path. You're always on track. So I think really it comes into play when you start to question why did this happen? Particularly, I think what happens with people is when things get tough, and life is tough, it's messy. When things get really like where people start to wonder, why did this happen? Why did I have this parent that was maybe unpleasant? They start to question, how could this possibly be the mission? But it is the mission. And delving deeper is really part of the purpose of the mission. Dr. Bruce, I would love for you to comment on this. But before you do, if you don't mind, I'm just going to say, hey from hot Sydney. Yes, it's a heat wave here in Australia at the moment. And we got hello from Arizona. Hey. And yes. Okay, so there we go.
Well,
Mel says, thanks for answering. What are your thoughts, Dr. Bruce?
I already did, Toni. I said that no, we do all come here with the mission. It's not always very clear. Sometimes it is clear, but not always. And I think if we can look at something that we resonate with, or that we really like to do, something that we're called to do, and that sometimes we fail to recognize that, or we do recognize that, and we deny it within ourselves. And we sort of make ourselves pull back from it, and refuse to have the experience. Again, we come back to experiences. So I think that everything that all the new experiences that we can do for ourselves in this life will help us find our mission by trying all different things. That's what I think about it. And you have the questions up here.
Indeed. I'm just looking through the questions. Please, if you have a question, post it in the comments, and so that we can respond. And in the meantime, do we reincarnate to learn or for an experience? What do you, let me get this message off. Dr. Bruce, what do you perceive your big experience was this time? Do you feel like there was one major portion of this mission that was to be, I don't know, overcome, experienced?
And to innovate. I think that my particular mission was to innovate. And I think you did too, Toni, whether you know it or not. You've come up with some innovative and some very revolutionary methods in what you do. And I think that I've done that both within past life regression and also within hypnotherapy. So see, my mission is to teach and to help people learn and to better themselves and to create. And I hope I've been doing that in this lifetime. But it just occurred to me what I forgot to mention. Another way to find out your mission is through past life regressions. There are several different types of past life regressions that can indeed, and we we ask within particular types of past life regressions, you actually just ask your higher self, or in a sometimes it's in a discussion with the council of elders or with your spirit guide in the in between state. What is my mission? What am I here to do this time around? What's it all about, Alfie? And the answers do come to you within past life regression.
That is the key, I think, when we work with people and take them into past lives or the in-between stage, then people can indeed absolutely find their mission or have it spelled out a little clearer to them. But I think my mission, it's made up of a lot of things. And yes, creating a spiritual psychology is one thing, but I think a lot of the mission is the personal growth and the personal realizations and going through the dark night of the soul and going through grief and those real deep experiences in life, heartbreak, these kinds of things. Those are paramount in our mission, in all of our missions. So at one stage or another, we'll all experience it. And because those are the things actually that change us. Those are the things that we do experience and we do learn from or gain more wisdom from in our incarnation. So it's really interesting.
Paul is asking, and he says, can you reincarnate into the past, or is the timeline always marching in one direction? We're going to do an entire program on that. You're anticipating us, Paul. That's we're really off topic for this particular show, but I promise you, we are. This is a favorite topic of mine, and it's not as simple as all that. But I think you're going to find this very interesting when we do get to that. I promise we will be devoting an entire show to that.
I feel like, hey, Paul, I feel like I want to just make a comment on your, can you reincarnate into the past, or is the timeline always marching in one direction? As Dr. Bruce said, we're going to cover that because there's so many thoughts or lines of thought around it. But personally, when I regress people, they are in a timeline insofar as history before the generation that we're in now, we had last year and the year before and the 100 years before and the thousands of years before. So it doesn't necessarily run in a timeline order when people are recalling their lives, but it does run in a historic timeline. There's a whole different thing about is everything happening at once, but that's a different conversation that we'll get into. But as far as regressions, because they are for the human experience, the fact that we are even recalling our past lives, that's for the human experience. They will be in a timeline that we can comprehend and understand and verify through history.
Well, I agree with you. That's true. They will be through that timeline. But well, not to get too deep into it, but there are times in a particular type of past life regression you do. And I do this when I do my between lives. I always take them back to the past life to live directly prior to this one. So if you were born in 1963 in this life, you probably should have been alive sometime around the early 1900s. If you look at what most researchers say, 60 to 80 years, Earth years between an incarnation. But, and I started finding this years ago, I would have people, when I go back, when you live directly prior to this one, they'll go back to ancient Rome. They'll go back 2,000 years. So my question, what were you doing for the past 2,000 years? Twiddling your thumbs? So if you look at it that, well, actually, I'm answering the question, but I'm not answering it. I do believe that you can reincarnate into the past, and that it's not always linear in a linear progression. It's always within the timeline, not always within the linear progression.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I started seeing this happening in a lot of my seminars when I used to do the past life seminars. and bring them back?
I personally, when I regress people, I feel like they're here almost always. They're incarnated as someone through all of the timelines in history. But from what happens in my work is people only recall the ones that are somehow relevant to this life. So they're realizing a strength that they had before, they're realizing a talent that they had before, or it's helping them to understand an emotion that they're feeling now, or an experience that they're having, why they feel abandoned, whatever it is. So that's why I see that they skip lifetimes, because when someone's having regression, they may go back to a caveman time, and then suddenly they're in the 80s, and then maybe the next one they're back in the 1700s, but there'll be some relevance for them to have recalled it, not that they haven't been here in between those timelines. So
there may be a
it's very cool.
I agree. There may be a continuity.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see, what else have we got here? Richard said he came to experience a super hard life, mission accomplished. Good on you, Richard. I mean, it's tough. It's tough, isn't it? So it's great. It's great to be through, whether you're through the other side or your perspective has changed on it, then that's a huge mission accomplished. So hats off to you for that. And hello, Rocco. And also, I don't know if I said hi to Kate before. Hey, Kate, I saw you there sneak in, which is wonderful. Yeah, what else have we got here as far as questions? Sign you up for regression. Let's see, we've got a question here, or a statement. I'm going to read it out. Dr. Brian Weiss, adore him, said we reincarnate and our families from this life will be us in our new life. My mother could be my brother, or my brother could be my father. What are your thoughts on this? Yes, this is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. And when you regress, you can know who's who and who's been who and who's reincarnated again. And what we see a lot more now, that people are remembering their past lives really easily. Of course, worked in it, so it's always been a thing, but people are doing it even spontaneously. But they find a mother may have a kid. I just had a case of this recently where the mother's little child, it's her daughter now, or it's her son now, was her uncle, who she knew in this life. So he died in this life, and then her son, who's born maybe 5 or 8 years later, can't remember, is the same soul. So you can come to recognize it. And a way to recognize it, if you feel that this is happening within your family lines, is if you think it's probably true. If you think, oh my God, my boy is just like my pop or my grandfather, and grandfather's gone, it's probably. So I think don't necessarily need proof, but if you want proof, then you will do a past life regression or something to find out for sure. It's really quite exciting.
It's as simple as asking. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoever does your past life regression with you, and you tell them, I would like to know who my Aunt Fanny was in my last life. Okay. And then when we get back in the past life, we'll find out. It could have been your brother. It could have been your sister.
Yeah.
God forbid, could have been your mother. Could have been your mother-in-law. God forbid.
Yeah. I know for when I did have my regression long ago, I was regressed by Dr. Brian Weiss, and I was quite new to this then. And I saw that my father, in this life, my father was my husband. And then it was like, it was not incestuous, but it's just kind of, back then it was like, what the hell? But it really actually changed the dynamics of my relationship with him for much more positive, because I thought, oh my God, he's really important in my life. And it made me reflect on our dynamics since I was a little kid. And in my instance with my dad, it's positive, but it won't be for everybody. But still, it certainly made me realize that we had been together before and it meant something. So Rocco said here, Dr. Bruce, yes, You may have gone from the 17th century Japan back to Lemuria and then forward to 19th century America. And you feel the need to confirm that with future regression. You can have future regression. If the way that I see that is, if you're allowed to know, as in if you're allowed to know as Rocco this life, then you do get to see, you get to glimpse it, and you can glimpse into the future as well. But yes, you're quite right. And you're mentioning here Lemuria, which is essentially not really a human life per se. Well, kind of. But people go to all schools where we incarnate to have an experience and to grow and have an experience. So it's really interesting. It's nice for you to share. 17th century Japan. Sounds like you've had a bit of fun on the planet. And gosh, let me see. I can't see who made this comment, but what's it say, Dr. Bruce? Can you read it?
Here we go. Do you feel people who are strongly empathetic, kind, and caring now have always been this type of person? Or do you feel that, like these people at some point, were horrible, hateful people so that they could experience that type of life?
Yes.
The latter.
Yes, it's very much that we will be different character, different, I guess, aggression level, different in each lifetime. So, yeah, we see it.
Toni wasn't always this sweet. In the past life, she was a real shrew.
Well, I have. It's true. It's true. I have seen myself. It's really confronting, actually, to see yourself as not a pleasant character. Of course it happens, and you can't deny it when you remember it, when you're seeing the past life. It's like, oh, I'm a terrible person, or however you are. So yeah, we've definitely been all sorts of people. I think predominantly across the board, though, lives are pretty simple, and they come back to the same basis of the same experiences that have impact on us as a person throughout the generations of life. But yeah, definitely our personality and the way that we interact with people can be unpleasant sometimes, or we're unpleasant in some lives. Yeah. And let's see what else we've got here. We're here to play. Well, certainly, Mel, we're here to have an experience, and I think playing is something that we can get so damn heavy and so focused on when things are not great that we can forget to play. And it's really important to remember, and I think that's back to this piece that Dr. Bruce read out. It's telling us to do that. Enjoy the wonderful things that life offers, and play. I'm pro that this time. Yeah. And let's see, we've got another question here. I'll pin it up in a moment. So Earth is a playground. Yes, it is, with challenges, and our human side does keep creating, or maybe not. Yeah, I suppose it's kind of creating drama in the life that we're living, because we feel like we don't have any say in it. And it's meant to be that way, to have these experiences until we start to look at it and question it in our life and grow and evolve within the lifetime. I've got another question here, Dr. Brucey. I'm going to put it up. Let's see.
Yeah.
The question is, do you feel like reincarnation is something that's become very popular recently with all the technology advances within the past 20 years? And if so, do you think more people will start recognizing this? What a fantastic question.
Absolutely. One of the things that when I do a past life regression, I always supply a person with what they call a trip record. It's something I email to them after the session, not before, after, because if I email it to them before the session and tell them not to read it, they'll always read it. Okay. So I said, nope, I'm not going to trust them. So, and they'll prejudice the results of the session. So this is key to questions that I ask them. And there's certain types of regressions where you can get very much into detail. And I said, what's great about this is that when I first started doing this 40 years ago and 50 years ago, whatever, and you had to you wanted to research what you got, and Helen Wambach did some great research in this. You had to go to the library and do it. Now you have your answers in 10 minutes on Google. And so I'm working with people, and right after we cut the connection, because everything we do nowadays, it seems to be, is online. I get a message from them 10 minutes later. Oh, I just Googled it. Yeah, I found this. I found that. I found that I was this person, and and someone with this name did live in this city. And so they get remarkable details that they're able to verify, and that only serves to make past life regression and the concept of reincarnation much more popular and much more into the mainstream. You got people like Shirley MacLaine wrote a couple of books on that. Yeah. Oprah has featured several times. Katie Couric did a whole show with somebody, a fellow who was a homicide detective who was hypnotized past life regression just for fun. He said, "I don't believe in this garbage, but go ahead, do it to me." And anyway, he approached. He was turned up to be an artist who lived in New York City in the 1800s, and he approached it as if he were doing a criminal investigation. And he found that how many points that the regression matched the actual lifetime of this person. So, oh yeah, it's so much easier to research these days than it was.
Yeah, I interviewed that guy. His name's escaping me for the moment, but he was as you said, a homicide detective, and great. He had a great story.
Snow.
Oh yeah, Robert Snow. Robert Snow. Yeah. Yeah, I interviewed him on my Life Map podcast. I think I'd love to respond.
Well, there was the kid, James Leninger. You remember him? A lot of research was done on that. Who was a fighter pilot during the war. He was a Navy fighter pilot.
Yeah, there is
James. His name was also James Houston. Yeah. And they did research. And yes, there was a James Houston. Yes, he did die in this particular battle. And he did fly off on a particular aircraft carrier in the Coral Seas. So, yeah.
This question is actually from Olivia. I can see your name on a different screen there. So thank you for asking it. I'd love to respond as well. I feel like reincarnation, I did start this around 20 years ago. It has become very popular, but it's not just that it's popular, it's part of the evolution of humanity where people now are more awake, available, more aware of it. And something I talk about big time are the Gen Z, the generation from the late 90s that come in, where a lot of these kids, or young people they know, and as the kids continue to, but people from the generations before that, yes, it's popular, and yes, it's becoming more mainstream, which I was told when I started in this that the mission was to bring this into mainstream. And as Dr. Bruce was saying before, there's a whole lot of research. Personally, I didn't take any notice of it because I was so involved in what I was developing and doing. But recently I've come out of my bubble and realized how much research, scientific research, white papers, it is phenomenal how much has been done in the last 20 years, even before that, but in the last 20 years, just so much. So I think without a doubt, more and more and more people will start to recognize it, and it will become mainstream. So, and it will happen fast as well. It's happened fast, really. Even if we look, Dr. Bruce, in the last even 5 years compared to the years before, of course we have technology advances, which means we can see what's going on all around the world, as we are now coming from all across the world in this live. So yeah, we're knowing what a lot more people are up to and what they're recalling, but it's definitely increased. I think if you, good night, Mel. I think if you just think about who you know in your circles and who's open that maybe you didn't realize was before, how much it's changing. And becoming more, I I don't know, obvious and more accepted, more
Almost
mainstream. Yeah.
almost mainstream.
Gosh. So one more question here. Oh, okay. This is from, I cannot see. I'm going to try and find out who this question is from if I can see, but maybe I can't. So let me just put this question up there. Sorry, I can't see your name. It just says Facebook user, but that. So the day my eldest granddaughter was born, she looked into my eyes and I felt as though I already knew her. She's now an adult and we have always had a deep and special connection. We both believed we were together in a past life or in many past lives. Is it possible? Yes. The answer is just absolutely a resounding yes. Yeah. And I think the clincher is just so special when both of you know it. That's what's so much more common now, is that people, they recognize that energy and the connection between each other. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah. And
There was
more.
an instance several years ago. I would have researched it if I knew I was going to say this, but where a 4 or 5-year-old kid said to his father, "Do you remember when I changed your diaper?"
Yeah.
Do you remember when I changed your diaper?
It's really adorable when the kids say it, and that is becoming more and more and more frequent and common for these little kids, usually before they're 4, where they say something to their mum or their parents. And I guess also that's part of it making it mainstream, because as a parent, when your little kid says it, it's like, you know, that your kid didn't know about what they were talking about. So instantly those parents then thoughts on reincarnation, even if they've never had them before, suddenly they're in their awareness. So it's really cool how it's all happening and coming about. Let's see what Sandy here. Sandy, Dr. Bruce, want to read Sandy's comment in your radio voice?
Past life regression seems like an important puzzle piece when doing psychotherapy. Dr. Brian Weiss made that quite clear in Many Lives, Many Masters. That book was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
It is. And who is it? Not only Brian Weiss, but from your neck of the woods, Toni, Peter Ramster.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He was also a psychotherapist, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Who had Brian Weiss talks about one of his patients lapsing into spontaneous past life in the session that he was doing with her. But I believe that also happened with Peter Ramster, another psychotherapist.
If anyone's interested, Peter Ramster, he is from Sydney, and he made this before Many Lives just came out, which incidentally was my introduction into this. That book, Dr. Brian Weiss, I love him and I love that book. But Peter Ramster, who I meeting and working with, and incidentally he said, "I've been expecting you," because the connection's all set. So I've just got so many stories like that. But anyway, Peter Ramster made, he was a psychologist and he was working with, much like Dr. Brian Weiss, where patient went spontaneously recalling past lives, and he's like, what's going on here? He started to record everything. He literally recorded it, set up a couch and recorded it.
Look up this, I forget what the name of it is, Toni, but let's remind our viewers to look it up on YouTube.
You can look it up on YouTube. He made a film where he took 4 of these, worked with, they were all from Sydney, Australia. And he took them abroad to the lifetimes that they led. This is before the internet. So they had to research through with historians and microfiche and all of that kind of thing. But the film's called The Reincarnation Experiments. It's from 1980. You can look it up on YouTube, and it's by Peter Ramster.
Or something like that, but it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Let's Gillian Wright has said, hey Gillian, Dr. Carl Jung was one of the pioneers of reincarnation. Certainly he seemed to know how it all worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he dealt more in the superconscious mind,
Yeah.
which I'm sure he believed in. I believe he did believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
Did he work within past life regression? I don't believe he did. But
Yeah.
many of the things that he promulgated, among them the superconscious, is offered as an explanation of where past life memories might reside.
Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Bruce, there's a question for you, and I'm going to read it to you so you can answer. Bruce, to the best of your knowledge, in between lives, do we get a particular animal spirit guide for the future life planning?
I haven't seen that. No, I have not. Toni might have. I have seen in doing between lives and taking a person through the death experience of the most recent life as a gateway to that between lives. That we said, well, who's meeting you? I expected them to say, oh, my mother or my father who was meeting as you cross over. It was their dog. It was their dog. And tears were streaming out of this woman's eyes as she said that. So I do believe that there is a strong connection between animals and people, and perhaps there are animals who might be our spirit guides from life to life in that particular sense. If that's what you mean, I don't know if that's what you mean, but there might be certain animals or souls of animals that also act with our regular spirit guides.
I think I'm happy to comment on this. Thanks, Dr. Bruce. I think that spirit guides, animal spirit guides, all of those things are actually human concepts that make us feel comfortable here and help us navigate life because we don't feel like we're alone. So in that regard, I suppose it would be planned as part of the mission. But can I say, as Dr. Bruce said, it's not something that life regression, because it's very literal. It's literally a life. And I think spirit guides and animal guides are certainly spirit guides. You can come across those energies in the in-between life phase. I've got thoughts on that, which we'll share in a spirit guide session one time. But yeah, but those are things to help us navigate this life, comfort us. Spirit guide animal. Let's see. We've got a comment from Jillian. Let's see what she said. When children are brilliant or talented at something that's beyond their young years, knowledge or training, is this because they're remembering that skill from a past life? I'd say yes. Absolutely.
I'd say yes too.
Yeah. And see, Jillian, this is back to talking about when kids say things, their parents are like, what? How could the kid know? How can my kid know this? So it makes them reflect on that there is a such thing as reincarnation. Yeah.
Why are they naturals at the piano? I'm going to give you a great example of that. This happened here in Southern California. There was a kid who played Little League Baseball, and he was quite a little star at 3 and 4 years old. And what turned out, and there was a book written about that. He was claimed, well, his mother claims that he's the reincarnation of the great Yankee first baseman Lou Gehrig, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Yeah. And then there was another kid who was winning golf tournaments at 3, 4, and 5 years old. Yeah. And he had memories of another famous golfer who some consider the greatest golfer of all time, who never was a professional. He was an amateur, Bobby Jones. So many. That's one. So many.
I posted a video on TikTok. It's on all of the platforms, but TikTok, it went viral. And I said 7 reasons or 7 signs your child's been your mother in a past life, and it went crazy. And it has thousands of mamas on there saying, my little kid said this to me. And it's absolutely beautiful to read and to see how excited they are. But it's very prevalent now. Very exciting. Let's see. There's a couple more comments here. Richard's asked, in an Akashic reading, I was told about a past life. Is it the same? Richard, I think the Akashic records hold the information, but what we do is take you to the past life to experience it for yourself and recall it for yourself. So it's kind of the same because you're being aware, you're being told it's a past life, but I feel like you can't know for sure unless you have that feeling yourself, and then you really know it was your past life. But so it's certainly similar. It's coming into your awareness, but Dr. Bruce, what were you going to say?
Details. In a reading, you do not get the details.
No.
It's told to you.
Or the feeling that was there.
Exactly, the emotional feeling. Yeah. But in a regression, you're the one doing the telling. Prompted by, of course, the regression therapist who's guiding you through that.
Oh, I just saw a lovely comment on here. Oh, he's going to rewatch the video. Okay, that's my lovely soulmate friend. Yay. Okay, what else have we got here? Let's see. Good night for those who had to go. We will also go shortly, but we've got one more comment here. Richard says he feels it from the Akashic record. That's affirmation. To me, that's affirmation. I don't feel like we should question our feeling or our knowing and let anyone override that, actually, no matter how professional expert they are. If you feel it, if it resonated with you, then that is real to you and it's true. That's how I see it. So that's good. Let's see. We've got a question here. Oh, so you've got a particular animal as a spirit guide and you've interacted with. Most psychology might say it's crazy. Yeah, okay, they might. But that's why we have spiritual psychology now, because we know that there's a whole lot more beyond clinical psychology and logic. It defies logic. So I don't think you're. And I've, just as I said before to Richard, if you feel it, if you know it, if you see it, then it's part of your journey and it's true to you, and that counts. I've got another question up here. Let's have a look at it, Dr. Bruce. I'm going to pin it. This is probably going to be our last question. Jillian.
Have either of you ever experienced, when guiding a client through a regression, that you connect into it yourself and see it in detail at the same time? Couple of times, not very often, because when you're doing this, I do what I call hypnosis. Toni calls it guided meditation. It's the same thing. If you're really concentrating, you're basically in the same state, and to use the word vibration, okay, your energy levels seem to be matching it sometimes, and it can happen, and it has happened to me a couple of times. I really don't like to spend too much time because I have to focus on them and on helping them. So I try, when it has happened, I've tried to pull myself out of it because I have to be objective when I'm doing this.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love this question. And like Dr. Bruce, the answer is yes. Sometimes, personally for me, I'm also, your energy is in there with your client. I think that's why it works so strongly, because the energies together and enhance the depth of the session, the depth of the energy and the way that the client recalls. But it's really important as a facilitator that we don't lead. We never lead. So we never suggest, if you can see or you have a feeling of what's coming next or what they can see, we don't ever say that. You can ask, but it's very important that the person gets the information themselves. But I must say another comment. What's that?
Yeah. I said never lead the witness.
Yeah, we don't. Just to keep it pure is all. Now, one thing I've trained, so is Dr. Bruce, but in my training of many, many people, I have to say that some of them maybe 5% of them can see everything. And I can't, but some people can. And then we teach them not to lead that. But really, I guess they've got a great vision to be asking questions and prompting their client. But yeah, so some people can. Let's oh, Jillian can. She says it happens to her all the time. So yeah, definitely validated. Some people definitely can, and obviously you're one of them. Let's see. Okay, gosh, we've been a little over an hour, which is great, and it's kind of time's just flown by. Oh, I'm getting a flattering comment here. It's really nice. I want to thank you in dissent. It says this. Look, I'm going to put it up. It's totally bragging rights. Thank you. It says, Dr. Toni, in my opinion, is the best past life regressor in Australia. Believe me, there's no better. Thank you. Let's see. Now, Jillian, you've commented here or asked, can you use regression to rewrite the client's outcome in that life? And I would absolutely love to respond to this. Dr. Bruce, do you want to respond in your way?
Yeah, that's a part of past life therapy. It's a part of past life therapy. It's a technique that I use when I'm doing past life therapy. It's called rescripting and reframing. When they have a particular problem, like a phobia, and it's traceable to a current traumatic incident, one of the techniques that I use is to change the outcome of that incident, and to change it in their mind, and that does help them in this particular life. So, and instead of them drowning in the boat, in other words, they decided to. I give them a choice. Okay, what do you want to do? You want to decide to take another boat? You want to make it to the lifeboat and survive the drowning? So we do that, and it's very a good technique to use, a powerful technique to use, particularly in phobias, almost any kind of past life therapy.
This is super interesting because this is where Dr. Bruce and I are very different some of our stuff is the same and some isn't. So this is Dr. Bruce's hypnotherapy background of therapy. For me personally, we never, the way that I see it is the life happened and you don't get to rewrite it. As a form of therapy, you can, but you don't get to rewrite it. It happened. So in my therapy, it's like, we're going to find out why. We die in our lifetimes every time. So if we drowned, we want to find what's the purpose of it. What do we set out to experience in that lifetime? So not saying anything's right or wrong, but just we have two different ways of addressing it for a client. And one way or another, it does heal. It heals the phobia when they find out why they drowned or why they burned or whatever it might be. So Jillian...
Whoever asked that question, remind me again when we just start discussing parallel universes, alternate universes. Because now, alternate timelines might come into effect when we do that.
It was Jillian who asked that question, and she says that she thought so. This is to your and Dr. Bruce, or your response to her question. She's been guided to do this work and she's been doing it that way for years. So interesting. Let me remove that, and we can say we're going to wind up. So please, thank you for joining us. It was wonderful to have you. We are planning to do this very regularly, perhaps weekly, and we're just going to see how it goes. But for now, this will be happening again next week, same time next week, which is 6 p.m. LA time and 12 noon Brisbane time in Australia, or 1 p.m. in Sydney time.
Next week, the $64,000 question will be, is karma a con job?
We're going to be talking about karma, and it's a great topic. It's it comes up. It's a big question for people, and it'll be a fun, or maybe if not fun, maybe enlightening, or it'll be a great discussion. So please join us again next week, same time, same place, and thanks for attending. If you want to make contact with us, Dr. Bruce has his website, drkolosky.com.
Yeah.
And mine is ToniReillyInstitute.com. There will be links in this event and in the post.
Sure.
But you can reach out to us on all sorts of social media as well. But wonderful to have you. Thanks for joining us. Come again. Bring your questions. And we did say last time that's when we have guests as well, and potentially we can have you on to share your stories and things. So stay with us. It's going to get even better. Thank you, Dr. Bruce.
Okay. Next week, bring a friend if you can. Bye-bye now.
Yeah. Bye.